As the decades passed, many of the promises of the Earth Alliance Charter failed to appear. Nations that were poor remained, for the most part, poor. While the quality of life did improve significantly in those regions, it did not advance nearly as swiftly as in locations such as North America and Europe. This created a growing disparity in regions like South America, Africa, and much of Asia, who began to rumble about seceding from the alliance. In addition to this, those nations who joined by force or threat of force were not unilaterally accepted into the alliance. The distrust and bad feelings did not fade as they had when the first round of holdouts, such as France, entered the Union. India and Pakistan steadfastly refused to accept any orders to disband their militaries and, in fact, built them up at a rapid clip using funds that were supposed to go towards humanitarian aid and infrastructure. Similarly, China and Russia took the influx of alliance technology and secretly built larger and more effective armed forces, including many outlawed weapons of mass destruction. These weapons included ground-based anti-satellite systems capable of tracking and knocking out the Earth Shield defense network, theoretically providing a first strike capability over their rival but, in fact, merely ensuring mutual destruction should war come to pass. For a while, it did seem like war was inevitable. China's population remained among the poorest in the world and blamed the alliance for all its problems. Russia continually chafed at the way their scientific and technological programs were hamstrung by deployment restrictions. The fact that they were using those very advancements to build up their military in direct violation of the Alliance Charter did not stop either from protesting or the continuation of the illegal activities. In addition to the difficulties with the larger nations, many smaller ones felt they were even worse off. The countries that were forced to join against their will, in particular those that made up the Palestinian states, were particularly incensed by the way they were being treated. Underground leaders continued to operate terrorist cells throughout the world, surviving despite all attempts by security forces to eliminate them. One of these finally succeeded in doing the one thing the Earth Alliance feared most. They acquired a nuclear bomb and used it in 2150 to destroy San Diego. The response was immediate. The government declared the equivalent of martial law until those responsible were caught, significantly reducing freedoms worldwide. Although the terrorists responsible for the devastation on America's west coast were eventually caught and most restrictions lifted, many people felt the alliance acted too strongly. Some believed the leaders at Earth Dome had too much power and that the Earth Alliance's influence had to be curtailed. Rumblings of rebellion began to appear across the globe, even in places where such things would have been unconscionable a few decades earlier. By the mid-2150s, Russia and China each had a military strength in excess of the Earth Alliance itself, and both sides were operating their own space forces as well. China secretly signed deals with Korea and India to aid them in any coming conflict, and in response, Russia and Pakistan formed their own alliance. Paramilitary groups began to form throughout the region on one side or the other, with the Middle Eastern nations joining in wherever possible. South America and Africa continued to threaten secession, and the Earth Alliance teetered on the brink of total collapse. As the world prepared for the end, something unexpected happened. On April 7, 2155, a Centauri survey vessel dropped out of hyperspace near Jupiter and made first contact with the human race. Within days, the Centauri ship was in orbit of Earth, undergoing peaceful trade negotiations with the leaders of the Earth Alliance. Threats of war and secession vanished overnight as humanity learned it was no longer alone in the universe. For the average citizen, the arrival of peaceful aliens was a time of rejoicing. Suddenly, all the petty fears and bickering among Earth's people became a thing of the past. Humanity was no longer trapped on a single habitable world amongst a few useless rocks that made up the rest of the solar system. Now, the entire galaxy was open for exploration. For the more pragmatic among the Alliance, the appearance of a seemingly benevolent race of aliens, possessing far more advanced technology and apparently occupying a very large empire, was met with suspicion and outright fear. The single survey vessel in orbit might have been capable of wiping out most, if not all, of Earth Force naval capabilities on its own, and it was not even a warship. A small fleet could easily bring humanity to its knees, turning Earth into a slave state of the Centuari Republic. In fact, had the Centauri discovered Earth 100 years earlier, such a conquest might well have been the result. Fortunately for humanity, the Republic was now too busy with its own affairs and internal bickering to worry about territorial conquest. In fact, they had already undergone several decades of compaction in which former slave planets broke away and declared independence. The last thing the Centauri needed was to antagonize another sentient race and send it running into the hands of its enemies. Thus, while Earth's leaders declared and solidified their friendship and trade relations with the Centauri, even enduring, with good humor, a laughable attempt by Republic ambassadors to claim Earth as a lost colony, they secretly began working on a crash program to advance the technological base of the Alliance. All differences between the member nations were forgotten under the sudden and very real threat of domination from a much stronger outside power. Fear of the Centauri and other races Earth was just beginning to become aware of, coupled with an almost instinctive desire to join and prosper within the newly discovered galactic arena, unified Earth as nothing else ever could. Although the Centauri survey ship claimed to represent the Republic as a whole, in fact they were little more than a splinter group of profiteers flying the flag of House Jado. Totally uninterested in conquest, they saw Earth simply as a means to increase revenues for themselves, not the Republic through foreign trade. Since the naive Terrans knew nothing about the galaxy, House Jado took it upon itself to instruct its new partner in the ways and means of interstellar relations. The Earth representatives sent on these first diplomatic missions to the stars smiled and nodded as the Centauri of House Jado extolled their virtues and pointed out the failures of their rivals among the many other races that seemed scattered throughout nearby space. Publicly, the Earthers pretended to eat this up, while in fact, they gathered information with a remarkable level of impartiality and returned to deliver their reports to the intelligence-starved government in Geneva. From these early missions, the Earth Alliance discovered several facts. First, there were dozens of alien races out there. Second, none were particularly close to Earth. Third, most of the star nations were so bogged down with their own problems that they had no reason to bother with conquering a measly little backwater like Earth. And, finally, should that attitude change in the near future, Earth Force would have no chance of defending the homeworld from enslavement or destruction. After a brief period of debate, Earth's leaders met in secret session and decided upon a course of action designed to bring the fledgling alliance into a position of strength in the least amount of time. Because of Earth's distance from most of the stronger alien races, and the fact that even the once mighty Centuari Republic had managed to miss finding them for centuries, the Alliance felt it had a window of opportunity to carve out a foothold in the region before someone stronger came along to seize that territory for themselves. This goal was extremely long-term, and Earth's leaders knew it would take decades to achieve, but they had little choice. Unless they expanded quickly and built up their military, they would be at the mercy of a greater power. Turning the Earth Alliance from a single system into a galactic empire required more than just a lofty ideal and a far-sighted goal. It required a plan eventually referred to as the Aegis program. Aegis was described on paper as a means to protect humanity from any threat, but was, in fact, nothing less than a blueprint for expansion and rapid growth. The leaders in Geneva decided that 3 R's were needed: reconnaissance, relations, and resources. And they were needed now. To accomplish the first goal, Earth Force formed the Deep Space Exploration Command. The first mission of this auspicious organization would be the generation and verification of a comprehensive map of nearby space. The DSE Command began by collecting information from Centauri databases, and verifying this with trips to as many systems as possible. When the Centauri finished constructing a jump gate in Earth orbit in 2159, Earth wasted little time in dispatching their first generation of extrasolar spacecraft to learn the tricks of navigating hyperspace and following beacons to establish gates without the aid of the Centauri. To the surprise of these early explorers, many of the systems they encountered were unexploited, simply acting as transfer points for Republic exploration ships as they searched for established races with whom to establish relations. Several viable planets were located and earmarked for future colonization, including Earth's closest neighbor, Proxima Centauri. The second key relations was given to a team of diplomats referred to as the First Contact Committee. This group began by signing a treaty with the Centauri, actually just House Jado, but that was enough for the moment and initiating the flow of trade goods. From this beginning, Earth started to reach out to those nearby races who also traded with House Jado. Lacking any ships capable of visiting these distant nations, the First Contact Committee initially leased space on Centauri vessels, and soon after purchased a pair of smaller craft outright, in order to reach whomever they could. Rather than trust a Centauri interpreter, the cautious Alliance diplomats learned languages on their own prior to departure, ensuring that no possible misunderstandings could result. In this way, Earth made peaceful contact with a dozen nearby races during the early 2160s, including the Markab, Vri, Deneth, Mentabans, and even the more distant Berkiri and Dratsi. However, they did not meet several others, who were either unknown to the Centauri or not on speaking terms with them. These included the Chlonus, Kolani, Torata, Korlians, Yolu, and, regrettably, the Minbari Federation. The final requirement, that of resources, was not so much assigned to any part of the Alliance as it was opened up to whomever wished to exploit it. In much the same way as the Americans opened up their West to anyone who could stake a claim and develop the land, the Earth Alliance opened up nearby space to whatever corporation could locate and secure the resources it offered. In addition, huge bonuses and payoffs were given to those with the wherewithal to acquire technology from whatever source presented itself. Hundreds of private companies sprang up overnight and rushed out into space in the mad hunt for profits, while behind it all the Belt Alliance initiated a steady expansion of its own. It was the Belt Alliance that would quietly form the backbone on which the Earth Alliance was built. But as the Earth Alliance grew, it would be only a matter of time before they encountered a hostile force, and this encounter would prove to be deadly.